My name is Richard Weitz. I am a Washington, D.C. based international security analyst. Chinese leaders have been going to Russia frequently for these high-profile meetings, as have Russian leaders come to China. So the Chinese wanted to reaffirm their commitment to that process. It also shows the importance and durability of the China-Russia relationship despite COVID, despite the war in Ukraine. It allowed President Xi to show China's interest, at least a declaratory interest in peace and ending of conflict. And it certainly has drawn also a lot of attention in the West and reminded people that China is an important player in Ukraine, even if not directly. Before the summit, there was expectations that there might be a new peace initiative, perhaps arms deliveries or concrete economic projects. None of that occurred. They may have agreed to something in private that won't become evident later. But for now, the main effect was more symbolic. It helped President Putin show that he wasn't isolated. By President Xi meeting with him, he again managed to show that despite the war in Ukraine and other things, he can still attract attention of world leaders. So he got the minimum that, if nothing concrete. And of course, President Xi managed to demonstrate renewed Chinese diplomatic activism following the COVID lockdown of a couple of years, when the Chinese were very active in terms of statements, but not much travel, not much concrete. So this does reaffirm China's importance in the world stage, the importance for China of the ties with Russia. The Chinese government came to the summit on something of a diplomatic high point. The previous weeks, it had brokered or at least hosted a reconciliation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. The key leaders met and they agreed to resume diplomatic relations. And China had in previous months issued not so much a peace plan, but some principles they'd like to see in peace. So people thought there might be more or some kind of peace initiative, but it didn't come out at the summit. So I think the Chinese strategy was to declare broad support for peace and ending the fighting, but not actually offer a proposal that can antagonize either side or that would not be accepted and could prove embarrassing. So this way you can gain perhaps some propaganda points in the global South by saying you're for peace, you want to end the fighting, but without having to make any concrete commitments. But in principle, even this past few weeks, when the European leaders have gone to China, they're still calling on President Xi to use his influence to try and secure that. So in a way, this question still remains open.